What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of the七つの大罪, or 7 Deadly Sins episode 4. And this episode, it was actually very simple, but we did have a lot going on. And the episode itself, it started off where we're still in that forest, and we had Meteoritos. He gets back up, and we see now that Gil, you can tell that even though he was calm, he was definitely, pissed off. And we see now that once Meteoritos got the info that he needed, you would think that that Meteoritos thought that maybe he could get away, but we see that Gil, he was still trying to attack Meteoritos, and we see now that every time he tried, he was actually dodging his attack with ease, and that right there might have been a surprise for some people, because after that attack he took back episode 3, you would think that Gil could actually land another hit, but we see that right there wasn't possible. And even when Meteoritos told Gil that they would settle another time, Gil would not listen, and that's when Diane, she had to step in there, and we see that she had picked up Gil, and we see now that Gil Thunder, he was actually shocking her, but that right there did no damage, and Diane just tossed him, and he went flying away. But we do see now that this arm or handguard, whatever it was destroyed. So right now Diane, she will have to find a replacement for that. But we do see that after they had got rid of Gil, it was now time for them to make their next move. And we see now that right there have revolved around Ban and King. And so Meteoritos, he had decided to go get Ban first, because obviously something was weird about King's death, supposedly, because even though Meteoritos knows, or supposedly knows, that King is dead and buried, he still wants to go there. And so now we see that and we see now that because he knows for sure that Ban is okay, even though he is in prison, he will go after him first. But we see now that Elizabeth, she was worried about this because he still had that injury, and Meteoritos being a pervert, he was actually looking up her dress, and he told her maybe this will help him. Obviously that was a lie, but Elizabeth, she's just so innocent and gullible. She was actually believing him. But once again we have Hawk chiming in, being the voice of truth, so to say. But there was this one scene with Gil where we had these people, they were actually praying for the Holy Knights to get to get this divine retribution. And we see now that in a rather ironic moment, it was the people instead that got punished, as Gil had crashed into this church. And obviously these people, they were definitely dead or dying, because we have this one man and his dying breath, he was still cursing the Holy Knights. But Gil here, he gave no fucks, and Gil was just out. He was gone, because we see him walking away so casually. But we do see that these Holy Knights, they must receive some kind of report about the seven deadly sins, because they were actually preparing in case they were coming here. And there were 4 Holy Knights in general that played a very important role in this episode. And the first 2 we saw, it was Fresia and Gogias. Hopefully I'm saying the name right. But these 2, they were playing chess, and they were just one Holy Knight apprentice, and her name was Jericho. And her name I can actually remember pretty easily, because Chris Jericho, the actual wrestler, this guy was actually one of my favorites back when I watched wrestling and when I grew up with it. So her name, it is definitely a lot easier for me to remember. But right now, she's an apprentice, so she's not a Holy Knight yet, which is why she have on any weird armor. But there were 2 others as well. There was the Holy Knight Ruin and the other Holy Knight Jude, and these 4 knights, they had made up this weird group called the Weird Fangs. And obviously with their creepy looking armor, you will see why they would have that name. But we do see now that they were actually waiting for the sin in case they would come, because right now they knew that it was only the captain and another, and so they were preparing for that. And so we see, I believe it was 8 miles away from where that dungeon was, where Ban is. We see now that the Sins and Elizabeth and Hulk, they had went there because we see now that when Meteorodos told Elizabeth that he'd be fine, if he got some sleep, he had like left them, and Elizabeth, who was like very worried about him, she had went to go check after him, but when she found him, we do see that like Meteorodos, he did collapse because obviously that wound, it was definitely a lot greater than what he was like putting on. So that right there like really worried her. And so we have Diane, she had went out there first and she was like asking, or she was trying to get some help, but obviously with like her being this big, that right there was impossible. And we see now that Diane, she definitely wants to be smaller, and that right there kind of like a downside for her, because obviously there are like a ton of things that she can't do. But luckily Elizabeth and Hulk, they were able to find a doctor, and he was like taking care of a Meteorodos. And we see now that like Elizabeth, she was blaming herself for what happened, because obviously she was the one that had got Meteorodos to go out and look for the Sins in the first place, because they're the only ones that could like take down these holy knights. So that right there, like I do understand why she was like blaming herself, but obviously she shouldn't. And we see now that Diane, she was not going to sit around and do nothing, because obviously she could not do what she really wanted, and that right there was taking care of Meteorodos. So she actually planned on going to the dungeon herself, to free Ban. And we see now that like when she was heading there, we just see all of these bugs, they're coming out of nowhere. And we see now that like after we had gotten this flashback of how Diane and Meteorodos, how they first met, and we see now that like Diane, she was like messing with these knights, or they were like messing with her, and we see now that like they were insulting her. And so Diane, she had every right to talk badly about them as well. And we see now that when these knights were actually going to attack her, we had Meteorodos, he actually comes in there and he kicks one of them, and he like beats up the rest till they eventually run off. And we see now that like when he looks at her, he did not see a giant, but a normal girl, because he asked her if she was scared. And that right there was the first time in her life if anybody ever asked her that. And we see now that in that moment she felt like she was small like him, like they were the same height, and that is how she fell in love with him. And that right there was like definitely touching. But then we see after that, and when she was going to get banned, we see now that like she actually has a fear of bugs. And so in that moment right there, she did seem like a very normal girl and not a giant. But these bugs, and they were being controlled by Fresia, they were definitely not normal bugs at all, because they could spit out this like very powerful acid. And we see now that it was melting the building, the street, the bridge. It was like melting everything. And even though Diane was scared, she was still willing to fight, because she would do anything for Meteorodos. And we even see now that Elizabeth, she had like stepped her game up, because obviously these bugs, they were melting the building, so obviously they could reach Meteorodos. And we see now that when the bugs were going to kill her, we have Diane here bringing out like some earth building skills, as she like made all these pillars come up from the ground, and then they took out all these bugs. And even though she did that, she had pretty much messed up the town. Now don't get me wrong, because these bugs still did a number on it, but this town was not even worse because of that. But I do hope though that the town can go back to normal, because we see like all these pillars, like they could definitely ruin this, and people like will have to move. But we see now that Diane, she was now charged to the dungeon now, to save Ban, and obviously deal with this holy knight. And we see now that like Elizabeth and Hulk, they were like left with Meteorodos, but like something like definitely wrong here. Even after everything that happened, like Meteorodos, he is still sleeping. He has not woken up, and we have the doctor coming in there asking him, like what was going on, or like asking him how Meteorodos was. And we see now that like Hulk made this comment that seemed like Meteorodos was dead. And so that right there like really was like something Elizabeth did not want to hear. But we see now that this doctor, he actually, agreed with Hulk because he had made this like very powerful poison, and apparently, he had it injected that into Meteor. And so that is why right now he looks dead, because apparently he is. But of course, he is our main character, so it's definitely safe to assume that there is no way he is dead. But we do see now that the Holy Knight Golvigus, we see now that like he was the one that was behind this, and he actually made a deal with this doctor. So the doctor is actually what I call a fuckboy, because that right there is definitely some shady crap right there. But we do see that after that we have these two guards that were like standing in front of Ban's door, and we see now that Ban, he has like all these like metal rods or skewers. They are piercing through his body. So right now he shouldn't be able to move. But we do see that when he heard these two guards talking about Meteor and Diane, or I'm pretty sure he doesn't know that it's Diane yet, because right now he probably thinking that it was somebody else. But regardless, he did kick out that door, and he actually broke himself out, and that right there was like so freaking badass, because you would think that like he cannot move, and he actually turned the tables around on them, and he broke out himself. And so that right there goes to show you that like he definitely could have broke out anytime that he wanted to. But right now he picked the best time possible, because right now he had the boys out there waiting for him. And so we see that like these two guards, obviously there is no way that they can do anything to Ban, because he is one member of the legendary 7 Deadly Sins. But we have Jericho, who was acting very arrogant, because she had told these two knights to go tell Golvigus that like she had no choice but to kill Ban. And we see now that like when she did attack him, not only did she not hurt him, but she also gave him a free haircut as well. And that right there was hilarious. Ban was definitely on his troll game, and I love that. And so now after that, we do see that like even though his body was pierced, all of his wounds have now healed except for one, and this was a wound that they got very long ago, and it's this scar that he had like on his face a little bit, but mainly on his chin and neck. And this scar is a special one, so even though he obviously has healing powers, it could still not heal that scar, which is why it's like a very special wound to him. But from the way he was talking, it obviously sounded like he had got that from Meteor. So that right there was like definitely interesting. But the episode itself, it was pretty good. We got Diane going in. We got another scene in play now, and so for that, I'm actually going to give the episode an 8 out of 10. But of course, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And you guys take it easy. I will see you all next time.